What if Sukuna entered the boys' universe? Homelander meets a true god. Imagine a being so powerful that an entire civilization of sorcerers, people who could bend reality, summon monsters, and warp the laws of physics, couldn't kill him. They couldn't even come close. They had to wait for him to die of natural causes, and even then, his soul was so overwhelmingly powerful that it survived as 20 indestructible fingers scattered across 1,000 years of history. Now imagine that being, not a superhero made in a lab, not a product of a pharmaceutical corporation, not a guy who got injected with a glowing blue compound as a baby, but something ancient, something fundamentally beyond human engineering. Imagine that being suddenly appears in a world where the strongest hero alive is a man-child in a cape who needs people to clap for him. This is the story of what would happen if Ryomen Sukuna, the undisputed king of curses, walked into the boys' universe. And I'm going to tell you right now, Homelander doesn't survive this story. Neither does Vought. And honestly, the world as they know it probably doesn't either. Let's set the stage. In the boys, superheroes exist because of a chemical compound called Compound 5. It's a synthetic substance manufactured by a corporation called Vought International, and it gives people abilities. Flight, super strength, laser vision, invulnerability, the whole package. But here's the thing about Compound V soups. They have limits. Real, measurable physical limits. Homelander is the strongest of them all, and yeah, he can fly, shoot heat beams from his eyes, and tank explosions. But he operates within the laws of physics, just at an extreme end. He's strong the way a hurricane is strong. Devastating, sure, but still bound by the natural world. Sukuna is not bound by anything. Cursed energy, the power system in Jujutsu Kaisen, doesn't play by the same rules. It's not chemical. It's not genetic. It's metaphysical. It's tied to negative human emotion, fear, hatred, suffering, condensed into a force that can be shaped into techniques that literally rewrite the rules of engagement. And Sukuna sits at the absolute peak of that system. He's not the strongest sorcerer. He's the standard by which strength is measured. For over 1,000 years, nobody has matched him, not once. So when he shows up in a world where the ceiling of power is a guy who gets nosebleeds when someone plays a high-pitched sound at him, you can already see where this is going. Picture this: downtown Manhattan. Or maybe Midtown, right in the heart of Vought Tower's shadow. There's a ripple in the air, something that doesn't register on any satellite, any radar, any Vought monitoring system. Because cursed energy doesn't exist in this world, there are no sensors for it. There's no framework to even understand it. 1 second the street is normal. Taxis honking, people walking, screens flashing Homelander's face on a Vought billboard. And the next second, something tears open. Not an explosion. Not a portal in the sci-fi sense. More like reality flinches, and then he's standing there. 4 arms, 2 faces, a body covered in ancient markings. An expression of total predatory calm. People freeze. Someone pulls out a phone. Someone else starts running. And Sukuna, the Sukuna, peak Heian era, full incarnation, all techniques intact, takes one slow look around at this noisy, fragile little world. And he smiles. Not because he's happy, because he's curious. And in Sukuna's vocabulary, curiosity and violence are basically synonyms. Now here's where Vought's machinery kicks in, because that's what Vought does because it manages. Within minutes, footage hits the internet. A massive 4-armed creature in downtown New York. Vought's PR team goes into overdrive. Is it a soup? A villain? An alien? They don't know, but they know one thing. This is either a threat to be neutralized or an opportunity to be monetized. There is no third option in Vought's playbook. And who do they send? Obviously, they send Homelander, because that's what Homelander is for. He's their nuke, their deterrent, their poster boy. He's the guy who shows up, lasers the threat, and then smiles at the camera while the rubble is still smoking. And honestly, for about 90% of threats in the boys' universe, that works. Homelander has never met anything he couldn't overpower through brute force alone. But here's the thing Vought doesn't understand. and Homelander really doesn't understand. About what's standing in that street. Sukuna isn't strong the way Homelander is strong. Homelander punches hard. Sukuna cuts through the fabric of space itself. Let's break that down because it matters. Sukuna's primary technique, Dismantle, works by slicing anything at an atomic level. Not with a blade, not with a projectile. With an invisible, instantaneous cut that targets the molecular structure of whatever it touches. It doesn't matter how tough you are. It doesn't matter if you're made of steel, titanium, or compound V-enhanced tissue. Dismantle doesn't care about your durability stat. It cuts the concept of you. His second technique, Cleave, is even worse in some ways. It adjusts its power based on the target's cursed energy and toughness. Against something strong, it hits harder automatically. It's adaptive destruction. Now think about what Homelander brings to this fight. He flies in, cape fluttering, eyes already glowing red. Maybe he gives a speech first. He loves that. Maybe he says something about being the world's greatest hero, and Sukuna just watches. Not because he's intimidated, because he's assessing. That's what Sukuna does. He's a martial arts genius with 1,000 years of combat experience. He doesn't just attack, he reads you first. He lets you show him what you've got, and then he dismantles you, literally. Homelander opens with laser vision. It's his go-to, his most devastating ranged attack. Twin beams of concentrated heat that can cut through steel and concrete. And against any soup in the boys, that's terrifying. Against Sukuna, he either deflects it with a casual slash of cursed energy, or, and this is the more likely scenario, he just tanks it. Sukuna's durability in Jujutsu Kaisen is absurd. He's been hit with black flash attacks, domain amplifications, and attacks designed specifically to kill him, and he keeps going. Homelander's heat vision is impressive by soup standards, but in cursed energy terms, it's background noise. So the lasers hit. Sukuna doesn't move. Maybe his skin scorches slightly, maybe it doesn't even do that. And then he moves. And here's the part that changes everything. Sukuna is fast. Not faster than a speeding bullet, fast. Fast in a way that characters who can perceive superhuman movement struggle to track. He closed gaps in Jujutsu Kaisen against opponents who could process time at a supernatural level, and they still barely reacted. Homelander has super speed, sure. He can move fast enough to catch a falling airplane, but he's never fought anything that moves the way Sukuna moves, because nothing in his world does. One moment Sukuna is 50 meters away. The next moment, Homelander is missing an arm. That's not an exaggeration. That's what Dismantle does. And the terrifying follow-up is that Homelander can't regenerate. Soups and the boys don't have healing factors. What they lose, they lose. Sukuna, on the other hand, has reverse cursed technique. He can heal himself from virtually any wound by running cursed energy in reverse, reconstructing his own body at will. So you've got a fight where one side can deal irreversible damage and heal from anything, and the other side has no way to put a permanent scratch on his opponent and can't recover from what's being done to him. This isn't a battle, it's a demonstration. But okay, let's say Homelander somehow survives the first exchange. Let's be generous. He flies up, tries to create distance, goes for aerial bombardment with his laser vision. Sukuna looks up at this flying figure shooting beams down at him, and he does the one thing that ends it. Malevolent Shrine. That's Sukuna's domain expansion, and this is where the power gap goes from enormous to conceptually unfair. A domain expansion in Jujutsu Kaisen is essentially a guaranteed hit zone. Once you're inside it, the user's attacks cannot miss. It's not about speed, reflexes, or durability anymore. The technique connects because reality itself says it connects. Malevolent Shrine is unique because it doesn't even trap you inside a barrier. Sukuna's domain is so powerful he gives it an open perimeter, a binding vow that massively increases its effective range and power. When he activated it in Shibuya, it leveled everything within 140 meters in a matter of seconds. Buildings, people, infrastructure, reduced to ribbons. And every single cut was guaranteed to land. Homelander inside Malevolent Shrine isn't a fight. He's material. Every molecule of his compound 5 enhanced body gets hit simultaneously with Cleave and Dismantle, attacks that adjust to his toughness and then surpass it by design. There's no dodging. There's no tanking it. There's no dramatic last stand. He comes apart. Fast. And now the real story begins. Because Sukuna killing Homelander isn't the climax. It's the inciting incident. Think about what Homelander represents in the boys' universe. He's not just the strongest soup. He's the symbol of Vought's power, the linchpin of their entire mythology. He's the reason the government doesn't push back too hard. The reason other soups fall in line. The reason the public feels safe enough to keep buying Vought products. When Homelander goes down, publicly, brutally, in a way that's probably caught on 100 phone cameras, the entire power structure of that world cracks. Vought's stock crashes. Their narrative collapses. They sold the world on the idea that Homelander was invincible, and now there's footage of him being taken apart by something that doesn't even seem to care. So what does Vought do? What they always do. They try to manage it. They try to spin the story, frame Sukuna as a foreign threat, maybe an alien, maybe a rogue soupy experiment from a rival nation. They try to mobilize the remaining members of the Seven. They try military intervention, drones, missiles, tactical strikes. And none of it works. Not because Sukuna is just durable, but because the weapons being used against him operate on principles he's immune to. Conventional explosives are kinetic energy and heat. Sukuna has endured attacks that warp space. Compound V soups are just physically enhanced humans. Sukuna is a cursed spirit who lived as a human by choice, a being made of the concentrated negativity of an entire era. The military can't even see cursed energy, let alone counter it. It's like trying to fight radiation with a sword. And what about the boys themselves? Butcher, Huey, Frenchie, Kimiko, MM? Their entire playbook is built around one assumption. Soups are human underneath. They have egos, weaknesses, relationships, addictions. You find the leverage, you exploit it. That's how you beat a soupy. You don't outfight them, you outmaneuver them. But Sukuna has no leverage. He has no family, no attachments, no corporate contracts, no secret identity, no addiction to public approval. He's not motivated by trauma or insecurity. He doesn't want to be loved. He doesn't even want to rule, not really. He wants to fight strong things and experience the thrill of domination. That's it. You can't blackmail that. You can't scheme against it. You can't offer him a deal because he doesn't want anything you have. Butcher, for all his cunning and brutality, would recognize this almost immediately. He spent his life fighting gods that turn out to be frauds. Sukuna is what those frauds were pretending to be. Now here's the part that makes this scenario truly terrifying, more than just a power-scaling thought experiment. Sukuna doesn't destroy civilizations because he's angry or because he has a plan. He does it because he's bored. In the Heian era of Jujutsu Kaisen, he walked through armies of the strongest sorcerers in human history, and he did it for sport. He refined his techniques not out of necessity, but out of aesthetic preference. He wanted his violence to be elegant. He's an artist of destruction, and now he's been dropped into a world that's essentially defenseless. No cursed energy users, no domain expansions to counter his, no binding vows, no 6 eyes, no limitless, nothing. This is a world where the peak of superhuman ability is a man who can fly really fast and shoot hot beams from his eyes. For Sukuna, that's not a challenge. That's a playground. And that's the final, chilling realization that someone in this universe, maybe Butcher, maybe someone smarter, maybe no one at all, eventually reaches. The most dangerous thing about Sukuna isn't his dismantle, or his domain expansion, or his 1,000 years of combat mastery. It's his boredom. Because a being like Sukuna, in a world with nothing to challenge him, doesn't just sit still. He escalates, he provokes. He tears things apart not to achieve a goal, but to see what happens. He's the kind of threat that every system in the boys' universe, corporate, military, political, superhuman, was specifically designed to never face. Not because he's stronger than anything they imagined, but because he's a different kind of thing entirely. Vought built its empire on manufactured gods. Compound V was their creation myth, their divine spark, their proof that humanity could engineer miracles, and then a real god showed up. Not a product, not a brand, not a test tube miracle in a star-spangled cape. Something ancient, fundamental, and absolutely indifferent to everything they built. And it smiled. If this one didn't make you rethink every Homelander power scaling debate you've ever had, I don't know what will. Drop a comment and tell me, who else from anime would completely break the boys' universe? Because I've got a few ideas, and some of them are even scarier than this. Hit subscribe if you want to see those, and I'll catch you in the next one.